And now on to a film about Jim Corbett, author, naturalist and big game hunter, who's best known for tracking down dangerous tigers in the foothills of the Himalayas during the days of the Raj in the 1920s. Man-eaters of Kumaon.
Nowhere along the foothills of the Himalayas is there a more beautiful setting than the river valleys and forests of Kumaon. Here the law of the jungle prevails, the law that is older and better than man-made laws. Dangers there are, but they only add to the zest of life and take nothing from the joy of living.
Have you seen anything?
हाँ साहब, शेर का पंजा देखा वहाँ पर बहुत बड़ा साहब. जिंदगी में पहली बार देखा जी इतना बड़ा पंजा.
अच्छा.
अच्छा साहब, सलाम.
To many, the jungles pose an imaginary threat. But to me, they are places of friendship and beauty. In nature, there is no sorrow and no repining. If the necessity arose, you could live on the jungles, enter into the lives of all the jungle species.
Hey, where's Kansama? Huh? Ah, Kansama. We have this tomorrow evening. See you there. Yellow soda. Hello, Maggie.
Jim, dear.
Where are you off to?
I'm going with Audrey to meet the DC's wife.
Ah, which Audrey?
Audrey Clay, the judge's daughter. Do I look awful?
You look very nice. If you sit with your boots hidden.
I don't think I can go.
Of course you can. Mrs. Vivian won't eat you.
You wouldn't come with me, would you?
Oh, no, thank you. I think I ought to go out to Alma Lodge, see how they're getting on. The Finlays move in next month. Oh, I gave Kansama a jungle fowl for our supper tomorrow evening.
Oh, good. Did you see anything interesting?
Yes. I saw the government runner from Ramnagar.
Do you have any news?
Yes, he's seen the biggest pug marks he'd ever known, tiger. I expect he's an old friend. One of these days, I'll get a shot at it.
In 1929, my brother Jim was over 50 and known in our part of India just as a shikari, a big game tracker. He had not published his ideas then. Thank you so much. We're not in a swim, I'm afraid. The houses belong to our mother. She and our stepsister used to see to the letting of them, but since she died, there's only me to help my brother with everything.
Ah, Audrey, my dear, there you are.
Oh, isn't it hot? Nora, this is Miss Corbett.
Miss Corbett. Come in, please, won't you?
Nainital is the summer seat of the government of the United Provinces. It nestles round a lake of little more than 2 miles in circumference.
Come on. Come on, Robbie.
North of the town are a number of parallel ridges with villages dotted here and there. Beyond these again are more ridges, dwarfed into insignificance by the mighty mass of the Himalayas that watch over my life. It was Fred Champion's book, With a Camera in Tigerland, that prompted me into taking pictures of Command and of animals in the wild.
Have you lived out here long, Miss Corbett?
Oh, we were born here. Our father was the postmaster, and my brother is on the municipal board.
Really?
Captain Corbett built the bandstand by the lake.
And he protects the lake from overfishing and sees that people don't cut down the trees. He'd like to see Nainital a bird sanctuary.
The birds do pretty well here as it is. I intend painting some of them, Miss Corbett. Do you or your brother paint?
Oh, I'm afraid not.
Pity.
My brother does a little photography, mainly in the jungle.
And he's a dead shot. He hunts man-eaters.
That's a risky business.
My brother doesn't take risks, Mrs. Rivian. He understands the animals. He shot his first leopard when he was 9.
From my earliest days, I have known the villagers who, with infinite labor, make and farm these fields along the hills. These people who live in the heart of the wild country are my friends. And the forest officers who work here are good enough to give me the freedom of those forests.
Hello, Robbie.
Sir?
Yes.
A man was shooting near here yesterday. It was late, dusk even. He heard an animal and fired. It rushed past him into the bushes. This morning he went with others looking, but they couldn't find it. Only blood smears. They found some hairs.
Shankar has them now.
Well. They are tiger hairs.
I know this tiger, Robin. He was born in this ravine. Several years ago, he got a buckshot wound in the left foreshoulder and leg. You see how the pug turns in. He's never done anyone any harm. He's a big fellow, though. After the wound, he came down into the village and slept all night in an empty go-down. Then he went into those hills over there, started killing cattle. We haven't seen him for the last year or two. I thought perhaps he might have changed his territory.
He's back now. Do we follow him?
It depends on how much he's hurt. Maybe nothing. If it's more serious, he may come back into the village to lie up. And then God knows.
He's not a man-eater.
Yet, as far as we know. Still, I think I must finish him. My gun. Might make a good trophy. Now, you take Hood Sahib and Moti back with you.
Ji, Sahib.
And keep together.
Are you quite sure?
Yes, thank you.
Bye. Take care.
Thank you, Maggie. It's a fine tiger, big one. 10 foot and 3 inches over the curbs. When I was skinning him, I found the pig hunter's wound. A very small one, only a scratch, really. I thought he might be serious, make him a danger in the village. As it is, I've taken his life for nothing.
He might have taken yours. I always worry.
He's not, chap. Army? Nah, only a wartime commission. He's a box swallower, really, rents houses. Doesn't do too badly. He was a great buddy of Percy Wyndham, my predecessor as DC.
Oh, really?
They used to go hunting together. Well, that's a tiger they shot.
He's a big fellow?
Yes. Jim Corbett knows more about jungles than most.
Is he domiciled?
Oh, yes. And speaks a bit Chi-Chi. He lives with his sister, a very churchy and possessive lady, according to my wife. Carpet Saab, they call him.
Oh, I see.
He's as British as the flag. Some quaint ideas, though.
Since childhood, Jim has spent all his free days in the forests. Before he was old enough to have a gun, he used a catapult or a bow and arrow. Although he still hunts, it's nature itself that gives him pleasure. And he enjoys observing the animals in their natural haunts. He seldom mentions the danger he runs when encountering the great beasts, whose strength and courage he respects.
Tigers fear no one and hunt by day. I have been watching this particular tiger since he was a cub. Sitting up over a kill and seeing him warily retrieve it, I haven't the heart to shoot him.
You come and sit down, please. Animals in their natural environment don't kill wantonly. Only we do that. Someone switch the light off, please. You'll have joy all around you. You recognize the birds and animals by their calls. When I was your age, I used to mimic most of the jungle creatures. Using my ears has often helped me as a hunter. Now, a leopard calls like this. If you answer his call, he'll come to find you. Now, a chital deer barks like this when a leopard is around. A warning to the herd. LÁNG chatters like this. Peafowl calls to a tiger. Now, I am a tiger, calling to a tigress in the mating season across the hills. Mr. Corbett for Mr. Vivian, please.
Just Billy.
Jim, decent of you to spare the time. We better comply with the formalities. Come along in. What'll you drink?
Nothing for me, thank you.
Excuse me, Ken. Won't be a moment, old boy. Let's sit over here. I've had a communication from Harry Higgs, ADC. The governor would like to come up here for a bit of sport.
What kind of sport?
He has in mind an elephant drive, apparently. I thought down in the Barber, where your bungalow is. There's plenty of game down there, isn't there?
Not as much as there was. As long as it's not in the close season.
I wanted to ask, would you organize it?
I remember one organized shoot.
And?
I was with 3 army officers on a duck shoot. We put up an enormous number of waterfowl, literally thousands of them. And then they started to shoot and went on, killing and killing, until they had shot over 300 of them. More than they could take away. It sickened me.
Oh, this will be entirely different, old boy. I might bring my wife with me. We're both fairish shots. She knows the form.
It is an honor, Jim. A governor's shoot. You said yes, I hope.
I told Vivian I'd do it.
Robin, get down. Is there some difficulty?
No, not really.
What is it?
These big shoots. Elephants, scores of beaters. It's just a massacre, really. Stalking an animal is one thing. On equal terms with it. One false move and you're lost. But these big drives, sitting up safely on the back of an elephant, 20, 30 guns or more, and the game's driven towards you. Half the time the animals are only wounded and they crawl away in misery to die or become a menace.
How long have you felt like that?
I remember when the old king came out. A big shoot for him. Killed 20 tiger, rhino, bear, and so on. And I thought then, it's against nature, Maggie.
Then why did you agree? You don't have to do it.
Well, they'll have to shoot anyway. At least I can see it's done right and they kill things properly. But I won't let them beat areas where there's forest tiger. They can kill cattle tiger if they want to.
Where's he going to be?
Down in Kaladungi. I'm going to try this out.
A new camera?
A present from an old hunting friend. He takes moving pictures, Maggie.
Oh, no, I look terrible.
It's all right, it's not loaded. Obviously, the film goes in here.
Jim, dear, not now.
Why not?
It's after 10 o'clock and you're tired. It's time for bed.
Whatever you say. We can have film shows, Maggie.
Won't it be expensive, all the film? Shall I read prayers or will you?
It's your turn, I think. We'll have to see.
O God, from whom all holy desires... O God, from whom all holy desires, all good counsels, and all just works do proceed, give unto thy servant that peace which the world cannot give. Every year, at the beginning of the cold season, we move down to our bungalow near the village of Choti Halwani.
Young man, cheer up. We'll soon be there.
Jim bought the village of Choti Halwani in 1915. The place was practically derelict, but he is set to work to remedy this, enclosing the village little by little with a masonry wall. He himself helps with clearing and irrigating the land. He has new houses built and old ones renovated. And gradually, the village is developing into one of the best in this part of the country.
Carpet, sahab, I need some new chana. Grass is not growing in my field.
That's because of the lantana, Ram Singh. Burn the lantana, and the grass will grow. You want some matches? I've brought some new seed, good seed, barley. That's for everybody, you understand?
Yes, sir, for everybody.
Choti Halwani has been our second home since we were children. We've always felt part of the village and close to our neighboring families, particularly Jim, who prefers to sleep in a tent in the garden.
Ah, Bahadur.
What is that?
It's a cinematograph camera. What is the news?
What is cinematograph?
It's like the cinema.
It will take moving pictures?
Yes. What is the news? What has been happening here this past month?
Everything is very quiet, Kabir Sahib. All as usual, peaceful, hard work. But your old friend Kumar Singh is dying.
Of what?
Well, you know, he has been taking opium. As you sow, so shall you reap.
He used to be the best poacher in the forest. When I was a boy, living here, he taught me all about the jungle. He should live to a good old age, not be put out to die. Jaldi. What's all this superstitious rubbish going on here? It's clear Bhagavan, eh? I won't have it. Come in.
He's thinking his father will die.
Nonsense. Nonsense. What are they doing to him? Get these people out, Bahadur. Bring me 2 seers of warm milk. Come on, chalo. Now, make these people go home, Bahadur. Quickly now, chao. Gently, my old friend. Don't worry. I'm here now. Be quiet. Make those people go home, Bahadur. So, times have changed, Uncle. So have you. There was a time when no man would have dared take you from your home to die like a beggar. You wouldn't listen to our warning. And now the vile drug has brought you to this. But you're not going to die, my old friend. You're going to live for many years. But first, you're going to promise on the head of your son that you'll never more touch the filthy drug. And this time you're going to keep your promise. I'll not come to save you again. Huh? Now, while we wait for the warm milk, you smoke.
How can dying man smoke cigarette, Corbett, sir.
There'll be no more talk of dying, because you're not going to. That's why I will smoke. Pour some in there. Right. Your father is better. You stay with him all night. There's nobody else in. Every time he wakes, you give him some more warm milk. Okay? Now, you must sleep, Uncle. Sure. Fresh air in the forest. Tomorrow, if I find him dead, I'll burn down the village. I remember showing Gunwar Singh my first old gun when I was a boy. He said, "Now you are a man. With that gun, you can go into the jungle and never be afraid. Provided you know how to climb trees." He taught me that too.
I don't think Kumar Singh will touch opium again.
I think all sportsmen who have had the opportunity of shooting with a camera and shooting with a rifle will agree that the difference is as great as between taking a fish on light tackle in a snow-swollen mountain stream and killing one in a pond. Fishing for mahseer in a well-stocked sub-montane river is, in my opinion, the most fascinating of all field sports. The river I have recently been fishing in flows through a beautifully wooded valley, well-stocked with game and teeming with bird life. My happiness, I believe, results from the fact that all wildlife is happy in its natural surroundings. For me, taking a picture gives far more pleasure than acquiring a trophy. Long after trophies have been consigned to the dustbin, the records made by a camera remain.
Jim never takes a gun out when he's filming. He only kills nowadays to protect the village crops or for the pot, though he's still making arrangements for the governor's shoot.
I shall need 2 shooting blocks in your forest, Robin.
You can have the Chori. No one shot there for some time.
The old Boar River block, that has some good cover in it. I have to be a big bandobas. I shall want 40 or 50 beaters each day and some forage for the elephants.
When is Governor Saab coming?
2 weeks. We've a lot to do.
Now we need 4 cups, Kamsama, and plates for the cakes. Right. Oh, and don't forget to put the second batch in later.
हाँ मैम साहब.
Where will you want machans and flags?
I'll deal with the flags later. I think machans in trees here, here, and here. Then we can control the beat properly.
You think it may be dangerous?
With the tigers?
Well, isn't that the point?
We'll not kill prime animals, Robin. Or tigresses with cubs. There have to be limits.
Yes, of course.
Robin, will you have some tea?
That would be very nice.
Right here, Mr. Bahadur?
Thank you. And cakes. Maggie's famous for her cakes. Do have one, Bahadur.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Why should you worry about tigers, Corbett sahab? There are more of them than there used to be.
No, Bahadur. There are not more tigers. They come round because tree felling has robbed them of their natural hunting grounds. When I first came to Choti Halwani, the village was surrounded by tree jungle and grass, virgin bush which supported all kinds of creatures. What do government do instead of preserving it?
They regulate development reasonably and very carefully.
They issue gun licenses. So, everybody stops being squeamish about taking life. They start shooting deer, sell them for a few rupees in the markets. They are robbing the leopard and the tiger of their natural food.
They have to live, Captain Corbett.
Let live. Isn't that the Hindu philosophy? Yet men from these villages sit in trees over water, wait for the animals to come and drink, and slaughter them indiscriminately.
But you can't blame the villagers for...
Then whom shall we blame? In the end, it's they who suffer. When there are no more deer, when the jungle is cut down, animals like leopards and tigers come down into the fields and start killing cattle, and that leads to open warfare between the villagers and them. The balance of nature is destroyed, and the people lose their natural inheritance.
Oh, that's nonsense.
Is it?
Maharajas and white sahabs also hunt game, if I may say so. Even you, Captain Corbett.
I don't know what all the fuss is about. However many tigers are shot, more come in from Nepal. They keep the population young. What do you think, Maggie?
I agree with my brother. I can't believe it's God's will that we should kill his creatures.
I shall take this.
Peter, round that tree, Geldy. Tell him, couple of tell him. Round the tree. Drive them this way. Geldy, tell him. Tell him.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you care to select your elephant?
Nietzsche!
Everything all right, Governor? Excellent. Going very well. Thank you, Vivian.
Thank you, sir. Nietzsche!
Bring it forward. Forward.
Turn. Nietzsche!
Well done.
That's the film, are you, Jim? watch out for anything else in here. Not moving.
That was marvellous, Captain Corbett. You ought to show it at Government House. Father would love to see it.
Would he?
Don't think my brother has time for cinema shows. These are scientific records.
All the same, people would like to see.
It's all right, Audrey. I can do this.
I could ask the Vivians.
Why?
Well, I think the more people see it, the better they'll understand the jungle. Of course, I'd want to get some tiger on film first.
I stalked through many hundreds of miles of tiger country. And though I saw tigers on possibly 200 occasions, I didn't succeed in getting one satisfactory moving picture. Finally, I decided to draw the tigers to me, laying down bait to bring them gradually to the jungle studio I prepared. I chose a ravine with a tiny stream running through it and built a hide about 8 feet from the ground and made small waterfalls to deaden the sound of my camera. The whole proceeding took about 4.5 months, with many setbacks and disappointments. But I got 600 feet of film, of which I am inordinately proud. Eventually, I got 7 tigers to the exact spot where I wanted them. One of them left, but not before I had taken a picture of her. The rest I kept together. A living record of 6 full-grown tigers, one of them a white tigress, filmed in daylight at ranges between 10 and 60 feet. Although they sometimes heard the camera, during the countless hours I lay there, not one of the tigers ever saw me.
Thank you. Thank you very much. There is one other thing I'd like to say about this experiment. This is that the camera does not take life. At the moment, we are ridding our forest of tiger and other animals at an alarming, not to say sickening rate. Now, I know sportsmen are conservative, and as each individual has his own point of view, I do not flatter myself that all my opinions will meet with universal agreement. There is one point, however, which I'm convinced all sportsmen, whether their viewpoint is from a platform in a tree, the back of an elephant, or their own feet, will agree with me. And that is that the tiger is a large-hearted gentleman with boundless courage. And when he is exterminated, as exterminated he will be, unless the public rallies to his support, India will be the poorer for having lost the finest of her fauna. If we do not bestir ourselves, now, all of us, it will be to our discredit that the fauna of this province will have been exterminated in our own generation, under our very eyes, while we looked on and never raised a finger to prevent it. Thank you.
Do not take any notice of them, Sahab. They are ignorant. Their opinion is not of importance.
They're very important, Bahadur. They make the decisions.
Only in this district.
In all India. But I don't know how to touch them. I lecture them. I edit a magazine, Indian Wildlife. I write articles.
You should write books, sir. True adventure books. Then everyone will read them.
I don't know how I'd set about a book.
Now you are making excuses. What books do you read?
Oh, the Bible sometimes.
Well, then learn from your Bible and write about tigers. Everybody wants to know about tigers. In fighting, sir, the pen is sometimes mightier than the gun.
Diplopanic tiger. Beyond the fact he was born in a ravine deep in the foothills. Mrs. Vivian.
Nora, please. I'm sorry, I came to see Maggie.
I'm afraid she said guides.
Ah, and I've disturbed you when you're writing your letters.
Writing a book, actually.
A book?
I was wondering while you're here, would you do the illustrations?
Oh, I wouldn't be good enough. What's it about?
Tigers, of course.
What are you saying about them now?
Something like this. When I hear the expression, cruel as a tiger, or bloodthirsty as a tiger, don't let me bore you.
You couldn't.
Would you like to hear some more?
Please.
I remember myself as a small boy, armed with an old muzzle-loader, with a 6-inch split in the right barrel, and the whole thing lashed together with a bit of brass wire. Wandering through the jungle when there were 10 tigers to every one that survived now. When night came on, with a small fire for warmth and company, wakened at intervals by the calling of tiger, throwing another stick on the fire, and turning over and going to sleep again. Because unless a tiger is wounded or disturbed over its kill or with its cubs, it will do you no harm.
Unless it's a man-eater.
A man-eater is a tiger driven to a diet alien to it, either by old age or because he's been shot carelessly. Perhaps if we shot less.
I don't understand you, Jim. May I call you Jim?
Of course.
You're the best shikari in the province. You've hunted for years, and now you turn your back on it. Why?
Maybe because I'm getting older and wiser. And I love my country as it is.
It's not our country, though.
It is mine. My family have been here for 3 generations, Nora. My mother was in the mutiny. Her first husband was killed at the Battle of Champawat. People like the governor and your husband come out for a term and then go back. Maggie and I have never lived outside India. This is our home.
लकड़ी चूल्हे के पास रख दो और बाद में गाय का चारा डालो।
And then moved up to Chaka.
Well, it seems to be so. That's all I can
Yes.
see. And then going further on. Well, it's a possibility.
Ah, Jim. Very good of you to come. We need your help over a rather tragic and difficult situation. Do you know Baines from Almora?
How do you do? How do you do?
Do please sit.
What do you mean, tragic?
There are no less than 3 man-eaters operating in Kuman. One of them
in my district is proving to be a considerable menace.
To cattle, maybe. Not necessarily to men. Man is not the natural food of tigers.
We want this tigress shot, Jim.
Why don't you send some army wallers after it? They'd enjoy it.
We already have. In my district, we've offered a reward. Several officers have had a try. So far, no luck.
There's nobody could do it as well or as cleanly as you.
Any leopards among them?
Apparently not. Certainly mine is a tiger.
The one they call the Chaga tigers.
You know of it?
I've heard reports. I don't always believe them. Tigers are often blamed for things that aren't their fault.
How?
A man wants to be rid of his wife. A tiger took her. A blood feud in a village. A person disappears into the forest. Obviously, a tiger killed him. A tiger kills some cattle, and immediately the headman complains it is a menace. Gentlemen, this makes me rather angry. Government destroys jungles, allows the extermination of fauna, permits shooting over water, allows villagers to shoot animals on the flimsiest of possible pretexts. When a tiger or a leopard, perhaps old, probably disabled, is driven out of its territory and forced into the village fields to prevent itself from starving to death, it is immediately accused of man-eating. And you ask me? You know how I feel about it.
I don't think you're being quite fair, Jim. We're carrying out policy.
Then carry it out. Take a gun. If you're convinced, do it. How many deaths are this you?
About 50, we think, over a period of 4 years.
And she cannot entirely live off human flesh. All the same, I suppose she ought to be put down, provided you get the right animal.
These are authenticated. Look, Jim. These are our hill people who've been killed already all along this range. Tak 1, Dabguna 1, Jamuli 6, Akhura 2, Kala Aga 8. These villagers are living in terror. They've virtually no defense and their lives have come to a stop. They just wait for the next victim to be taken. You know how it is. You've seen it before.
Damn.
They're very much your people, Jim.
You've no need to tell me. I insist on the same conditions as before when I've had to tackle man-eaters. I want no reward. And I want all other guns out of the area.
Swearing is a sign of weakness. You shouldn't have given in to them. After all you've said.
It was Ham Vivian who persuaded me.
You've done too much for the Vivians. You're too old to go after man-eaters. Why should you face the hardship and danger? They can find younger men.
Apparently not. I'm going because I have a duty.
You've no duty to them.
Not to them. Maggie, I've walked all over these hills. And wherever I go, I'm received with friendship and hospitality and often love. There's very little I can do in return.
You've done plenty.
Never enough. You know I won't take any avoidable risks. And I'm going, whatever you say.
I think there's something else. I think you were flattered. I think you want to show them that you're still the best hunter in the United Provinces. And that is vanity, Jim dear.
It is a tigress, Sahib. Indeed, it is two. One is the cub, and the other its mother. They hunt together. And people say that the cub is killing for the mother. 2 sets of pug marks at the last kill here.
When was that?
3 weeks. A young man of 22 herding his cows. One moment, Sahib. This old woman, Sahib, is the unfortunate man's grandmother.
Bolo, क्या हुआ?
क्या हुआ? बताइए।
उस दिन अपनी गाय लेके घर के पास वाले खेत में गया, वहीं शेर घुस आया। बेचारे बच्चे को पता भी नहीं लगा और जिनावर ने गरीब को दबोच धरा और घसीट के ले गया बेचारे को। फिर उसे शेर ने पटक पटक कर मार डाला।
He was out with his cows in a field near their house when the tigress, Shaitan, the very devil, it crept upon him. It moved as silently as darkness. It struck him with its claws and beat him to the ground. Then it took him by the neck and killed him.
बेचारे के क्रियाक्रम के लिए हाथ की कुछ उंगलियां और चेहरे का एक टुकड़ा मिला, बस।
There was little left for the funeral ceremony. Some fingers and a piece of the man's face. That's all.
None knows better than I that the hunting of tigers on foot is not a popular sport, and that the hunting of man-eaters on foot is even less so. I searched fruitlessly for a month, wandering through the jungles from dawn to dusk, far from the nearest human dwelling. I had no definite knowledge of the man-eater's whereabouts. She might have been 50 miles away, or she might have been watching me from a distance of 50 yards. Only those who have walked in fear of having the teeth of a tiger meet in their throat will have any idea of the effect on one's nerves of days and weeks spent stalking a hungry beast which has declared itself your enemy. Then, one day, a double set of pug marks and a circling vulture led me to a tiger on a buffalo kill. I was greatly disappointed, for one glance showed me that I had shot not the man-eater, but her cub. The Champawat tigress disappeared, but in the following month she claimed 15 more victims while I was working in Nainital.
Is this a new chapter here?
No, just a wide space will do.
Mali says urgent note, Sahib.
Take it. Yeah.
What is it?
It's from the Vivians, the forest bungalow. They've located the man-eater. They want me to join them.
Well, you can't, can you?
Why not? I can go this afternoon.
If they're such great hunters, why don't they shoot it themselves?
They've asked for my help, Maggie.
You always go running when they want you. You don't have to be at their beck and call.
It's not them. As I've said before, it's the people. Champawat man-eater killed over 400 villagers by the time I shot it. And the Rudraprayog leopard over 100. I made a promise, and I'm going to fulfill it. Where's my cigarette packy? Oh.
Ham!
Hello, Nora.
My word, you were quick. When did you leave home?
Day before yesterday. As soon as I got your note.
How many miles is it?
Oh, 50-odd.
Lord, you must have walked all night.
And there was moonlight.
You must be tired. You better sit down. Boy, bring some tea for sir.
जी मैम साहब.
Well, what's happened?
We arrived on the 21st and were just settling in.
Ham was having a shave.
Half a dozen women were cutting grass fodder at the far end of the field when suddenly we heard screams.
The tigress had taken one of them.
I grabbed the rifle and rounded the men up.
The lather was still on his face.
Anyhow, I followed the drag and found the dead woman under a bush beyond that banyan tree.
The tigress must have abandoned her when the alarm went up.
So, we put a machan in the tree and I stayed there all night, but no luck. Yesterday, the body was taken away for the funeral and we tied a bullock in its place. Nora and I sat up there all last night.
You must be tired.
Oh, I enjoyed it. Wouldn't have missed it, you know me.
Stuck up there like a couple of ruddy monkeys. We simply can't stay any longer, Jim. I have to get on circuit.
That's all right.
Forgive me. Good of you to come.
We'll tell him to put a katra in the same place. Perhaps I'll have more luck.
A young cow. All right. Nora?
Yes, Ham. You think she still might come back?
You never know. She must be desperate without her cub to kill for her. Her teeth and claws must be worn down.
You must have some breakfast. I wish we could stay, but we're behind schedule as it is. Ham would stop and try to get a shot at it. Do be careful. Thanks for coming, Jim.
The tigress did not come that night, but I felt sure she had not left the area. Through the ensuing days, I tried every trick I had learnt in a lifetime in the jungle to outwit her, always knowing that she might be just beyond the next turn in the path. My sixth sense told me that she was watching and following me. I'd been along this gully many times, but this was the first occasion on which I hesitated to pass. My instincts told me of the presence of the tiger. There was nothing for it but cautiously to retrace my own steps. I did not find the tigress, but I found her fresh pug marks over my footprints. I realized then how nearly the thread on which my life hung had been cut. One day in April, I followed a path down to a ravine where the tigress was said to have killed a man the month before. My bearers followed me. All at once, I became aware that the man-eater had arrived. I knew I'd have to shift my ground. I'd get a better shot at her from across the valley. The men were a difficulty. To have sent them back alone would have been nothing short of murder. when the gods, who snip the threads of life, miss one thread, they cut another, and we do not know why. Call it fate, kismet, or what you will.
No, Jeremy.
All well. Home in 2 days. Tiger is dead. Jim.
Thank God.
He was not home for long. In the next 2 years, he went after the remaining 2 man-eaters and killed them both. But even after that, fresh ones were reported. First at Shuka, then at Tak, and the villagers appealed to him to rid them of them. They were appeals he felt he couldn't refuse, although he was suffering from bad bouts of bronchitis and malaria.
Maggie looks after me very well.
I'm sure she does.
All the same, I'll be off again soon.
Shooting tigers? Do you have to?
Someone does.
I thought it was against your principles.
It was a sad affair. We're not doing any good here.
May I ask you a personal question, Jim?
If you must.
Why have you never married?
That's rather a blunt one, isn't it?
Have you never wanted to?
Oh, yes, very much. Once, 30 years ago, when I was a bit younger and even more handsome. My mother was against it.
Is that all?
No, there has been someone else in my life. But she isn't free, and they don't live here any longer.
Does Maggie know?
Maggie knows. Makes her nervous when I get too friendly with anyone else. But I'm very content.
Really?
There are plenty of things that I love, Nora. When I wake in the morning, open the window, there's the Tal before me. The hills reflected in the still water, and the song of the birds, and the distant calls of the carriers on the Mall. And in the jungle, the magnificence and grandeur, I suppose, of nature. You could say I'm an old codger who's married to India. I hope I'll die here.
The marauder at Tak was another tigress. When Jim set out to find her, he was over 60, tired and weakened by illness. It was to be his last hunt for a man-eater. As usual, he went alone. And when he got there, the village was deserted. All the terrified inhabitants had fled, leaving their houses open. The young goat Jim had brought for bait could smell Tiger and was frightened. On every path and in the courtyards and the dust in front of the doors were the tigress's pack marks. In any one of the abandoned buildings, the man-eater might be lurking, ready to spring. But nothing stirred. She had claimed her last victim in a terraced field above the village. There were still signs of a struggle in the soft earth under a tree. At sunset, a cold wind started blowing, chilling him through. Somewhere in the darkness, the man-eater was roaming silently. He was the only human on Tak Ridge. When the moon came up, there was still no sign of life, except a sambur grazing with his calf near Jim's tree. Then, high up on the ridge, a kaka deer started barking.
The cry was not repeated, and there was nothing I dared do. When I got back to camp in the morning, I asked the head man if he could give any explanation for a cry from an utterly deserted village, but he could not. So it's best to assume that neither the kaka, the sambur, nor I ever heard the very real screams of a human being in mortal agony. I wonder whether it is a premonition, Maggie, a warning. The forest department have over 1,000 laborers camped on a nearby ridge to cut down trees. They say that if I don't kill the man-eater soon, they will all leave. Last night she started calling near the labor camps. They lit fires and shouted to drive her away, but that only infuriated her, and she rampaged round them till dawn. The villagers say she is a shaitan, a devil.
The next day, he set out from Chuka with 3 bearers from the nearby Ladia Valley. They saw nothing all day except the tigress's tracks, and didn't hear her till they were making their way back to camp. Stop. Tigress. Coming this way.
Take them out. You see, it's not a shaitan. It's only an animal.
An hour before, it would have taken wild elephants to drag the people from their shelter. Now they were converging on the path leading to THịT. Some went up to help carry the tigress, while the others would have carried Jim, had he permitted them.
We are singing in your honor. Yes. And yours? I'm tired, Chacha. I need some sleep, you understand? If the greatest happiness one can experience is the sudden cessation of great pain, then the second greatest happiness is undoubtedly the sudden cessation of great fear. I have had a long spell, and there have been occasions when my life has hung by a thread, but I am amply rewarded.
Jim lived on to be 80. In 1944, he published his first bestseller, Man-Eaters of Kuman, which was followed by others that sold around the world. After India's independence, we moved to Africa to be with our friends and relatives. But Jim's heart remained in the Kumaoni Hills, where they named the first tiger reserve after him. Nowadays, everyone talks about conservation. But he was a real pioneer.
In these foothills, spring comes in a night. It's winter when you go to bed, and when you wake next morning, all nature is rejoicing. Season after season, year after year, the scene changes. And after a year or 50, one is still only at the beginning.